Greetings. I'm your host, Glen Alex, and this is the Glen Alex Show, the 2023 Positive Change Podcast Award winner. Each episode of the Glen Alex Show focuses on a different aspect of health because you are whole and all of you matter. And I'm on a mission to help you be joyful, connected, confident, and complete. The life experience I call Wellth, Wellth, which is health plus other riches. So take a moment to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode of The Glen Alex Show. Then drop a like and a comment. Then stay tuned for this impactful episode to enhance your health and well-being.
Where your health matters, set your mind, let it flow. Joyful, connected, confident, complete. Let Glen Alex help you back on your feet. The Glen Alex
I'm Glen Alex, and I am so excited to share my new book with you, the much anticipated Living Boundaries. Watching how people interacted intently as a child, I learned early on how important boundaries are for health and well-being. And I believe that boundaries are the foundation of health and happiness. I also believe that boundaries on the individual level, healthy boundaries on the individual level, create a healthy collective, which will make a safe and accepting environment for all of us. So I do a deep dive into boundaries, which are much more than just saying no. Healthy boundaries involve understanding their purpose, red flags, green flags, truths about boundaries, boundary context, and how emotions and thoughts impact boundaries. Living Boundaries is your ultimate guide for setting and affirming boundaries to preserve your health and well-being. This book is for anyone who wants to reduce anxiety, depression, stress, burnout, relationship, or other issues. Living Boundaries is for women, men, and those with non-conforming gender identities because healthy boundaries are a human issue and are not the sole responsibility of women. So don't forget to order your copy of Living Boundaries and order a copy for a loved one. Thank you. Please help me welcome my guest, Matt Johnson. Matt is a hypnotherapist and a neurolinguistic programming coach. After healing from a devastating brain injury and PTSD, which involved rewiring his subconscious with hypnotherapy and NLP, Matt developed a method for helping others release deeply rooted emotional baggage and break free from subconscious blocks. He specializes in helping people heal mental and emotional baggage and take control of the subconscious programming that controls up to 95% of our behaviors by age 30. So, Matt, welcome to the Glen Alex Show.
Hello, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, you are so welcome. Thank you. I'm looking forward to this episode. I think NLP is very important in not only understanding some aspects of mental health, but in healing it as well. So thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So what led you to hypnotherapy and NLP?
Uh, 2016, I got a severe brain injury. I was hiking in tide pools with my kids when I slipped and landed the back of my head on a slab of solid rock. I hit so hard, my brain actually rebounded, hit the top of my skull. It was brutal pain. If you've ever been zapped by electricity and felt that intense pins and needles type feeling, that's what was going on in my head.
Oh my
I,
gosh.
Yeah, I spent several years in a dark room. I had black hefty bags taped up over the windows because I was so sensitive to light and sound. I couldn't even be in a room with the lights on. It was just too painful. And so in that dark dungeon, I spent probably the first year and a half going through every medical study out there. I had four different neurologists. The first one I go in and he says there's nothing I can do for you, and then tries to book me for a repeat visit. And I'm like, well, why am I going to come back? If there's nothing you can do for me. I didn't say
Right.
that, but it's it just didn't make sense to me. So on to neuro number two, he gave me a pill that wound up taking a little bit of that sting away. And so it's okay, this is progress. So can you help me sleep? Because I was going through this thing where the pain made it hard to sleep, which made the pain worse. That was just these brutal downward spirals. He told me, no, there's nothing I can do for you. And so on to neuro number three. And right away she says, yeah, let me give you amitriptyline. And it worked. I could get a consistent 7 hours of sleep, with that pill. And I'm beyond grateful to my doctors. I would not be where I am without them. But the only reason I tell that story is how many people would have stopped with that first one.
Yes.
Yeah, you got to take charge when you've got some kind of big health journey that you've decided to complete. But it was uh, you know the medical route. Just I realized at a point that there were it was not going to be able to heal me. I had gone through, like I said, every medical study out there. I created a 3-page document of all the harebrained treatments that actually helped me, everything from amino acids to hyperbaric oxygen. I gave a presentation to the San Diego Brain Injury Foundation on all of them. If anyone listening has a brain injury, hit me up. I'll shoot you a link to it. It's just on a Google Drive, no charge. But and I realized medical science was not going to heal me. And so I started looking around for what else is out there. And I started getting into energy medicine. And lucky for me, I live in California, so I had a lot to choose from. But one of the first things I tried was called Reiki. And I told you I had those pins and needles in my head. The best description I can give is she took those pins and needles and kind of made them fly in formation, if that makes sense,
Okay. It
and took the
does.
sting away. Yeah, but I was just like, whoa, I have no idea what you're doing, but please don't stop. And so at the end of the session, I asked her, can you show me how to do that? And so I spent a few days with her, got trained up in Reiki, went on to learn pranic healing, qigong, Silva holistic faith healing, and a few
Okay.
others. And I did a huge amount of healing over the next couple of years with that, but I just could not get rid of the light and sound sensitivity. It's just too painful to live my life. And at this point, I'm thinking, do I have permanent brain damage? So I found a special type of scan where they actually map the electrical activity in the brain. MRIs
Okay.
look at the tissue, which doesn't tell you much with a brain injury.
Right.
SPECT scan actually maps the electrical activity so it can show if there's any dead areas, basically. Long
Okay.
story short, my brain was okay, but areas that were supposed to be dark were lit up like fireworks. I had PTSD,
Okay.
had it most of my life and never even realized it. And so at that point, I'd known I had anxiety issues. I'd tried several talk therapists and the meds, and just I knew that wasn't my path. But I was familiar with hypnosis and NLP. NLP from Tony Robbins, who famously had a woman who had 152 different personalities, and he was actually able to integrate her right there on the spot in about 45 minutes.
Okay.
That's the power of this stuff. And so I dove into those, got quadruple certified and all that, asked every instructor I found, how do you heal PTSD? Nobody knew how to do it. And so back to the internet, I took about 2.5 years just learning from the best of the best in both fields. And I finally put together a protocol to heal myself. And I
Okay.
apologize for the long-winded answer, but that is how I got into hypnosis and NLP.
Okay. Sometimes the scenic route is the best route. So,
Yeah.
well, first of all, congratulations to you for not just stopping at
Thank
symptom
you.
relief. I have a lot of clients who want that pill and they don't want the therapy part of it because they just want the symptom relief. So that's an
Mhm.
important step in healing, the one you took. So congratulations for that. So can you just give us a nuts and bolts definition of what neurolinguistic programming is?
Yeah, it's kind of like having an operator's manual for the brain. It's one thing, people will come to me and, they'll have, intrusive thoughts or something like that. So, all right, let's tune into how you do that. All right, where, for anything, any kind of thought, it's going to be a picture, a word, or a sound, or feeling, excuse me. Those are our
Okay.
visual, auditory, and kinesthetic modalities, right? So for about 80% of people, it's going to be a picture. All right, where is that picture? Is it to the right, to the left, above you, below you? How big is it? How far away? Is it in color, black and white, flat or in 3D? We really tune into how you do those things. And then once we do that, we can start to play with it. For a picture, for example, I have them shrink it down to the size of a postage stamp, and they'll usually feel a huge amount of relief right then. We'll dump paint on it. We'll send it way out in the horizon so it's just a dot, things like that. But it's really understanding how your subconscious does those processes and then giving you a toolkit to be able to take control of them, if that makes sense.
It it does. It
Okay,
does.
okay,
I do like clarity though.
okay,
So
okay.
neurolinguistic programming,
Hmm.
NLP, basically is reprogramming is a way to reprogram your subconscious.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's a way
For
we're
those left
making.
brain people.
Yeah, yeah. We're making the unconscious processes conscious. And
Okay.
once we do that, we can take control of them and change them into what we want.
Okay. Okay. That's excellent. So what is the difference between NLP and hypnosis?
Good question. Hypnosis is when we kind of take your conscious mind and set it aside, just get it to relax so we can access those subconscious programs directly. A
Okay.
lot of people, get freaked out about hypnosis just because they see the guy at the fair, the stage hypnotist, and all that, get people to cluck like a chicken or whatever. It's not like that. You never lose the ability to accept or reject any suggestion given. You're always in control. If you watch the stage hypnotist, what he'll do, he'll bring people up and put them under, and he's looking for suggestibility like any hypnotist, but he's also being very playful and he's seeing who
Okay.
plays back. And so
Okay.
he's finding out who wants to entertain that audience, right?
Okay.
I couldn't get you to do anything you wouldn't, normally do. You always have your wits about you. You're always in control. But once we get you into the right state, it's we're able to access those subconscious programs by your 30th birthday. Up to 95% of all your day-to-day behaviors are directed by the subconscious. If you think back to the first time you drove a car, your
Hmm.
hands were 10 and 2, you were super focused on not hitting anything around you, right?
Yes.
Fast forward a few years, you've got coffee in one hand, cell phone in the other.
Yes.
I'm kidding, please don't do that. But how did it become so automatic? Most of us have had the experience of driving and realizing we haven't even been paying attention the whole time, right? How did you not
Exactly.
crash? It's because your subconscious learned how to drive. You did it through repetition. That process, is very cool for driving, but we can also do things, teach our subconscious things that we don't want, like limiting beliefs, negative emotions, bad habits, things
Hmm.
like that. Once those programs are in there, that's when you need NLP and hypnosis to go in and rewrite them.
Okay. So do you provide both for the same client,
Oh
or
yeah,
do
all the time.
you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It depends. I mean, there's usually I specialize in uplifting the downtrodden, people who've been through some really, horrific stuff. And there's uh there's the bad events themselves, but there's also a lot of, negative emotions around them. There's a lot of self-worth issues, things like that, especially if
Hmm.
things happen when you're a kid.
Hmm.
If you're talking about like a soldier who, got his, those invisible scars on the battlefield, he was already an adult. His personality was pretty much formed, right? So it's
Right.
more a matter of dealing with the event. But with a kid, kids tend to internalize everything. They're, very common thing is, mom and dad are fighting. I must have done something wrong,
Hmm.
right? So at that age, they haven't developed the ability to really judge what's happening. And so they'll develop all these false beliefs about themselves. They'll get self-worth issues, identity issues,
Hmm.
and reshaping them are a big part of what I do with them.
Okay. Okay. And are there specific steps or protocols for NLP?
Yes, and it really depends. It's everybody's different. It's like a fingerprint. But, in general, I'll try to, calm that fight or flight response first.
Hmm.
And then once the brain is relaxed a little bit, then we can do the rest of the change work. From there, I'll
Okay.
work on, negative emotions and, whatever is specifically impacting that person. But It's, I always start with a free consult, and we just map out, what's going on for you, figure out, what programs we want to change, and then, just create a custom plan. So again, it's like a fingerprint.
Okay. Okay. And so in Call Me the Brain, is that the anchoring part?
Anchoring is, I'm struggling to come up with the right analogy. Anchoring is when you take, all right, I'll give you my very first example of anchoring. When I was 6 years old, my mother made some phenomenal cherry cheesecake. I got sick from it once. And for the next 2 years, I couldn't even smell cheesecake without getting physically sick. That's an
Okay.
anchor, right?
Okay. Okay.
A lot of us, you smell chocolate chip cookies baking, or, fresh cut grass or something, and it takes you back. That's an anchor,
Okay.
right?
It's
I'm
more
sorry?
like the association.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. And so as a clinical social worker, uh, I lean towards CBT,
Hmm.
and I do a lot of work around the beliefs and thoughts and
Hmm.
reframing.
Hmm.
How do you work with reframing with your clients?
Very similar. It's, you can chunk up. It's, it's a very individual thing. I just had a guy yesterday who, he'd, uh, he'd had some really horrific stuff happen to him. And, he had had some, I don't want to give anything about private, but he'd had some reactions to it. And I made him realize that, hey, that reaction you had was because you were a good person. You know what I mean? And
Okay.
that would be the reframing part. It just, again, it depends on what it is, but yeah, it is a big part. With the beliefs, I have a visualization that I learned from Richard Bandler, who's one of the co-founders of NLP. It's very cool if you'd like to go through it for a second, but we basically map out how you do belief and how you do disbelief. Think of something you would argue is
Okay.
not true, and then we'll take, whatever it is you want to believe or disbelieve, and stick it in those spots, just like we did with the pictures a few minutes ago.
Okay. Well, we'll come back to that one.
Okay, sure.
I'm working up my nerve.
Okay, all right.
Now, um, are there any particular buzzwords that stand out for you when you're engaging with a client and they'll say, I should have done, or uh, that wasn't the best thing to do, or how they talk about themselves? Are there any specific buzzwords or phrases that catch your attention and say, hey, that's where we need to go to work on reframing or challenging that belief?
It's not any specific words. It's just about, I always start with taking them back to the childhood and figuring out what happened to them then. That's where their identity got formed. And even if something, even if what we're dealing with happened later, I know who I'm dealing with
Mhm.
by that. But as far as, figuring out, it's the day one NLP, they teach you the map is not the territory. What people present with is very seldom, the actual problem. It's,
Okay.
once you dig deeper and find that out, it's usually a big part of what I do is give people the right words to understand, at a deeper level what they know what they're experiencing, but they don't necessarily have the terminology for it. So I'll
Okay.
help them go in and just kind of understand it at a deeper level, if that makes sense.
Well, can you give us a couple of examples of the words you share with them?
Okay. Um, Let me think. The I'm trying to think about things. I don't like to give out private details,
No, no, no,
but
not yes, that's okay.
it's
That's okay.
yeah, yeah. A lot of
Yeah, I would never ask you to violate privacy. So
yeah,
just
yeah,
in general, for example, if I have a client who you know, that is self-deprecating and will say a lot, well, I could have done that. That wasn't the smartest thing to do. I'm like, well, what's that self-criticism about?
yeah, yeah. Usually that you something like that. It's with the people that I deal with. What can happen is you all right there, your brain is the most incredible supercomputer ever created, all right, but it has functionally has three main layers. There's your reptile brain, which understands, should I eat it, run from it, whatever. Its only job is to keep you alive for the next 2 seconds and pass on your genes. That's all it cares about. Above that, you have your mammal brain, which think of your dog, understands love, family, the pack, and all that. Whereas some reptiles will eat their young. That's the difference between the two brain layers. Above that, you have your neocortex, which is all your higher order logic and all that. When you're in extreme stress, which is something I deal with, just with just about everybody I deal with, your body will physically drain blood from the brain, and that neocortex will shut down. And guess who's in charge at that point? So, a very common thing, almost everybody I deal with, they've had some type of experience like that. And that can be anything from a war zone to asking a pretty girl on a date and something stupid comes out of your mouth. But that reptile was in charge. It made a calculation about how to keep you alive in those next 2 seconds, and that's what you went with. And so I get people asking me all the time, you know, what was I thinking? And I always tell them you weren't. Your reptile was.
Mhm.
I had a kid who, he was growing up now, but as a kid, he walked in on his dad had his mom at gunpoint, and he just walked by because A, there was nothing he could do, and his reptile knew that. It could have made the situation worse trying to jump
Right.
into it. And, B, it's, again, extreme situation. It made that calculation about here's how I'm going to stay alive, do the best that I can. That's just what he ran with. But
Okay.
again, we do that kind of thing all the time. Just, anytime there's stress involved, that's, we'll resort to our programming, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
It does. It does. I'm still just wondering because you had mentioned that you give your clients certain words in describing their experience. I'm just asking
Yeah,
what those
yeah.
words
I will
are.
help them to, yeah, I'll help them to understand. A lot of time, like you said, they'll kind of self-deprecate saying I'm stressed out or whatnot, and we'll kind of get down to the bottom of what's going on. If
Okay.
that, it's not like I don't have a certain set words that I use.
Okay.
It's just a matter of helping
Okay.
them understand what's going on at a deeper level.
Okay. The how the brain works and what region they're dealing with in a particular situation or context.
What processes they're running.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. And so can you just give your take on why reprogramming is necessary? Because I have clients who are resistant to reframing and changing their beliefs because that's this is who I am. This is all I know.
Mhm. Yeah, that's an identity issue, right? That's just who
Hmm.
I am, and you will never outperform your identity. So if you've got, some type of a block like that, that's where somebody like me would come in and reprogram that.
Okay.
But as far as, I tell people, if therapy works for you and all that, then great. That's, wonderful tool. It's going to work in the vast majority of cases. But there are some people who are resistant to it, and what's happening is I use the example of my dad, my first intro to hypnosis. He tried to quit smoking for 30 years, pills, patches, gums, you name it, failed every single time until he got hypnotized. After one session, he never even craved cigarettes again. Now, why
Okay.
is that? It's because the hypnosis hit those, the cravings, the triggers, all that stuff at where it lives, which is in the subconscious mind. So if you've got, trauma or something like that that's lodged in the subconscious there, that's when you need, hypnosis, NLP, EMDR is another good one that I've seen as far as going in there and, dislodging that.
Okay. 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 I think I'm ready
Okay.
for, is it the unspinning exercise you want to do or the other one?
Oh, okay.
Which,
Yeah. Unspinning is a fun one. Yeah.
or which
So,
one did you have in mind?
unspinning is a good one just to give people an idea.
Okay.
This is anytime you're feeling fear or stress or anything like that, this is a great exercise. So think of something that brings up that fear for you, or stress, maybe overdue bill, a conversation you don't want to have, maybe even a person who intimidates you. Feel feel that emotion start to come up, and notice, where do you feel that in your body? Point to it. Okay, good, good. Now, in your mind's eye, you can close your eyes if you're not driving, but in your mind's eye, if that feeling had a color, what color would it be? First impression.
Kind of a dark gray.
Nice. Okay, is there more than one color?
Um, Maybe three shades of gray. They're all
Okay,
on the dark
perfect.
side.
Okay, perfect. All right, so those shades of gray, if they had a shape, what shape would they be?
Some perfect circles.
Okay, all right, those perfect circles of gray. If they were moving, what direction would they be moving in? Now, if it's hard to tell, you can try turning them one way then the other.
It's sort of like this way.
Okay,
That's what I
tr
conceptualize.
okay, try turning it the other way and see what happens.
Oh God. Wait a minute. I was ready for that. Um, wow.
Feel the difference?
I can understand there's a difference, though there is
Hmm.
some resistance to turning it.
Okay. Okay. So if you're comfortable doing it, try finding the direction that's best for you, right? Whatever feels most peaceful. Again, everybody's going to be different. It's just a matter of working with whatever your subconscious mind gives you. You just want to take it and run with it.
Okay.
Okay. If you would like to, you can spin it up faster and faster to amp up that new good feeling while you drain all that color right out of it. Just make it totally transparent in there.
Hmm.
All right. And then still spinning it, fill it back up with whatever color you like. Some people like gold or pink, green or blue, whatever feels most peaceful.
Okay.
All right. Now, still spinning it, try adding sparkle to it and watch it start to swirl throughout like a candy cane or one of those poles in front of a barber shop.
That kind of tickles.
Yeah, it does.
It does.
What we've just done is taking a subconscious process and made it conscious. We assigned a picture to it, right? And then once we
Mhm.
do that, we can change that picture to make the response into what we want. It took that stress feeling and totally changed it, didn't it?
It did. It
Yeah.
did. And I felt a little lighter and um there are like these PowerPoint animations where there's just like all this happy movement. That's
Yeah.
what I experienced. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, thank you. That is NLP. That
Okay.
that is
Okay.
how it works. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. And do you work in person, virtually, or both?
I do both. Most of my clients come over Zoom. I originally had resistance to it, but COVID happened and I had no choice. I had people calling, I need your help. So I got on Zoom and it works just as well. Probably a little better for hypnosis because I use these things called binaural beats, which will sync your brain waves and what's
Uh-huh.
called a high theta pattern, which is
Okay.
exactly where we want, but it works better on headphones than
Okay.
me, being in person with a speaker. So Zoom actually, was a blessing.
Okay. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Is there um one nugget, one takeaway that you want the audience to have?
Yeah. You only get so many trips around the sun. So figure out, how do you want that to look? Now, picture yourself, 95 years old, sitting in your rocking chair and looking back on your life. What do you want that to look like? And then just reverse engineer it. What do I need to do, this
Okay.
week, this month, this year, today, in order to start making that a reality? And if you start bumping up against, programming, something like that, you were talking about those blocks and things like that. You start bumping up into that, that's when you start to look at, all right, what programming am I dealing with? And if you need help, that's when you get somebody like me or you to work you through those blocks.
Okay. Okay, awesome, awesome. Do you have any programs or classes or um, what ways do you have to assist others?
I have a free NLP course I call NLP Mind Magic. That's where
Okay,
we do the anxiety unspinning. We'll
okay,
do the intrusive thoughts, the pictures and all that, change limiting beliefs, negative emotions, procrastination, things like that. It's basically my most requested items I put all together in one course.
okay,
Beyond that, I do one-on-one, and I'm working on a subscription that's going to be released pretty soon. It's called Limitless by Design. One of the things that really, we talked about that identity work that I
mm-hmm,
had to do. I realized that I had shut myself down in so many ways in my life. As soon as I was diagnosed, and Limitless by Design is basically a complete program to help you take, your subconscious programming to a whole new level, and every area of your life, health, wealth, relationships, emotional
okay,
freedom. Every month has a different theme. January's New Year's resolutions, February's relationships, all that. But we take your
okay,
life and just explode it in every area. But yeah, you can check me out at Matt Johnson NLP,
okay,
and that's got links to all my programs. And
okay. And on your website, they can request a consultation.
mhm. Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely. Yeah,
excellent.
you'll get the chance to sign up for the free course and all that, and then you can check out one-on-one sessions or uh,
Okay,
whatever you like.
okay. By the way, I'm still very aware of this.
You can now do you can unspin fear anytime you want. All you got to do is close your eyes and visualize, right?
Okay,
So anytime
okay,
that's coming up for you, I did that. My very first Facebook Live was I give away NLP tricks in my free content. That was the
okay,
trick that I did in my first live. Take a wild guess why I picked that one for my first. I'm like sweating bullets, but I'm sitting there unspinning the whole time, and within a minute or two, I was actually having fun.
okay. Well, what is your Facebook page?
Uh, it's um, it's a Facebook group called Emotional Reset Circle,
Okay. Emotional
but
Reset Circle.
you can
Okay.
check that out. Yeah, I
Okay. I'll put
have. Thank you. But I have a, YouTube channel called Rewire and Rise. But yeah, I can give you links for all that, and you can throw in the show notes if you like.
it'll be in the subtitles for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Matt, thank you so much for making time to be here. I really appreciate your work and how you are working to help other people heal because I firmly believe that if we were healthier on an individual level, then collectively we'd be unstoppable and loving and safe for everybody.
Agreed. And thank you for doing what you're doing. I
Well,
really appreciate it, and thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
you're welcome. It has been a pleasure. I wish we had all day. Okay, Matt. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you again for tuning into this episode of the Glen Alex Show. We hope that you learned how your words, your language, your thoughts, and your beliefs impact your mental health, and will take steps to improve your mental and overall health. So please like, subscribe, and share this episode.
Refresh your spirit with a nourishing thought.
Please allow me to leave you with this nourishing thought. Albert Einstein said, "We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them." And Ludwig Wittgenstein said, "The limits of my language means the limits of my world." Language, the words you speak, reflect your thoughts and beliefs. By the time you say something, you've actually thought about it repeatedly, molded over in your mind thousands of times to the point of believing the thought is actual reality, when in fact most human thoughts are negative, repetitive, and distorted. This programming is automatic, and most of the people I speak with, family, friends, clients, are unaware of what they actually say. which means they are also unaware of their underlying thoughts and beliefs. And therein lies the crux of anxiety and depression. You see, your thoughts and beliefs trigger your emotions and determine your choices, which lead to certain outcomes. So I dedicate my awareness to what I say, do, think, and feel at any given moment because I don't want to exist on autopilot. I want to live. So I choose to be present as much as possible to minimize depression and anxiety. And I assist clients in doing the same by being present and aware of self in real time, not dwelling on the past nor worried about the future. Anxiety and depression either don't exist or don't overwhelm. You are then empowered to reprogram your automatic negative and unrealistic beliefs and thoughts and change your language to live a healthier life. To learn more about distorted thinking and health, visit glenalex.com. Order your copy of my 5-time award-winning book, Living in Total Health. Order your copy of my new book, Living Boundaries. Read my blogs and request your free consultation with me. Then tune into the next episode of The Glen Alex Show. And until next time, please be well.